How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. I am your host, Richie, here with my good friends, Mr. Mike Zappi, San Antonio, Texas. How you doing, bud?
Dude, I'm loving it, buddy. We have, 7 teams that their rookies reported to training camp yesterday? It's back.
It's that time of the year, as you can see by my man, Idris Salam, North Carolina. You can see by his background. He's ready for football season, sir.
Always ready, 24/7.
And we are going to save the best for last. We are going to speak on the NFL towards the end of the show. We have a lot to say about the plummeting running back market as well as a potential holdout or two. But we are going to start this with the New York Yankees. Gentlemen, just your genuine opinion. Is this Yankee season truly an embarrassment? A sweep at the hands of Shohei Ohtani's Los Angeles Angels. They lost 2 out of 3 to the lowly Colorado Rockies after the break. No true feeling that Aaron Judge will be back anytime soon, nor do I think he should be. Carlos Rodon is already starting to hear it from the Yankee fans. Your thoughts, gentlemen, your thoughts.
By Yankee standards, yeah, this is an embarrassment. We're barely over 500. Last place. We can't hit the ball. Our starting pitching is okay. We're just by Yankee standards, yeah, this is a bad season. Do I think it's over? No, but if we continue this pace, even if we made the playoffs, we probably lose a playing game by the way we're playing right now. We're lucky that we're just a couple of games out of the last wild card spot. And we still have the AL Central that's trash. So, but yeah, this season is this is an embarrassment by New York sports standard, period. You know.
Mr. Zappi, your thoughts on the last place in New York Yankees. First time they've been in last place this late in the year since 1990.
Wow. 23 years. That's amazing.
Try another 10 on that.
I'll try some new math sometime. I keep trying to say that your guys' season's not done. I think you guys are definitely making a move at the trade deadline. You know, because when you talk about embarrassments, I say the AL and NL Central, those are embarrassments. The Athletics, that's an embarrassment. But per Yankee standards, yes, that it's embarrassing for the Yankee fans and, you know, the organization. Aaron Boone needs to go. You do need to make a deadline deal, though, because something moving forward, I will say that, you know, because quite frankly, the AL East as of late has not really been good as a whole. If you really look at their record since the All-Star break, I mean, everyone's been pretty much losing the same day, except for today. Baltimore was the only team that won, you know, and now they're in first place mathematically right now. Mm-hmm. So it's I don't think they're necessarily done. But then you told me about how Ryan Bader's probably going to the IL, and then it's a matter of Aaron Judge. Is he coming back? Is he not? What's best for him? Do you guys make that big deadline deal? So, yeah, it's definitely time to make. If not, it's time to mail it in.
I found this on the web.
I'm going to tell you this right now, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Short and sweet, because they don't deserve that much of my breath today. Harrison Bader's often injured. I love him when he's actually available because he is a hell of a center fielder and a good spark plug for this lineup. And I always say how you need table setters. I will say that Anthony Volpe, I have the most patience with him. He's a rookie. He did something that only 3 other rookies in Yankee history have done, which is start on opening day. I have literally no issue with him. I feel that he's gradually just going through the course of the season and learning how to be a pro. I tip my hat to IKF. I've spoken highly of him on many a show. He has done anything the team has asked of him. And defensively, Jose Trevino is my dude. I think he calls great games, as well as Kyle Higashioka, because little known fact, he has actually called 2 no-hitters in his Yankee career.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at the meat and potatoes of this lineup and what it was supposed to be, obviously Aaron Judge is injured. Giancarlo Stanton has been a gross disappointment, barely hitting over 200. Josh Donaldson, about to start another IL stint, has just been god-awful. But what I do think can turn things over in a positive way quickly, they have been linked to Soto. Obviously, you can't rule out an Ohtani trade. One of those two trades happen, and you start filtering in some of the young blood in this very rich Yankee system. Even if they were to trade for a Soto or an Ohtani, I don't think it means playoffs this year, but I think going into a new season, Rodon's going to have some of that pressure off because they might be out of the race. They'll make a decision on Severino. Personally, I think he's gone. But I guess what I'm trying to say is that things will start falling into place for next season where it's not like doom and gloom, but they got to get rid of some of this dead wood, dead weight scenarios. Guys like Stanton, I mean, I'm not totally opposed to keeping him if he's not necessarily a focal point. What I mean by a focal point is Rizzo's game elevates with Judge in the lineup. Soto will be great in the lineup with Judge. Can Stanton be a productive DH with these other guys doing their thing? Yes, I actually think he could be. But should Stanton be involved in one of the potential trades before the deadline, I would not be sorry. I think it's time. But, you're talking about guys like Garrett Cole. You're talking about certain players that have, I try to take things in stride. This team was in the American League Championship Series just a year ago. It's not so much about, and I said this on the last show, it's about the culture. I feel that the Yankee culture has been kind of reduced to kind of being okay and a little lackadaisical with accepting mediocrity. And while I'm on it, we might as well hit on the state of the American League East. Zappy, before this show started, you alluded to the Tampa Bay Rays most definitely running out of steam. Baltimore Orioles definitely look like they could be dangerous and are going to sustain until the end of the season. So much talent in Toronto. In the end, even if the Yankees can't get out of their own way, I still think the Boston Red Sox will finish last. But there is a potential that 3 could still get sent. I just don't think the Yankees or the Red Sox, who are the two most iconic teams in this division, are going to end up getting in. I think you're going to see a scenario where Toronto plays to the last week of the season, possibly gets in, possibly misses, and I think you're looking at Baltimore and Tampa getting
in. Yeah, it's as of right now, it's pretty obvious that there's going to be 3 in the AL East. It's going to be Baltimore, Tampa, and Toronto, New York, or Boston. Probably Toronto because they've been playing some great ball as of late.
I just can't see a scenario. It's not even about the record, bro, and it's not even about that that the Yankees aren't out by that much. It's just there's a body language that I've seen that just shows me that this team has kind of melded in. And at some point, people have to be accountable. And I said it on the last show, not as calmly as I'm saying it now. But yes, to your point, Aaron Boone has to go. It is time to move on.
Too.
Idris, I'm actually getting comfortable with the idea of moving on from Brian Cashman. Too many of these moves just have not worked out to the maximum ability that they could have. I mean, I get it. It's not like we traded Whitey Ford for Harrison Bader, but Harrison Bader's always hurt, dude. He's always hurt. Now, you're talking about potential trades. If they should involve Ohtani, they're talking about sending the Martian out to LA, talking about Jason Dominguez, potentially Austin Wells. If I'm going to give up on some of these younger assets, it better be Ohtani and not Soto. Because with Soto, I think you could kind of give them your B levels and your C levels. But if it's Ohtani, you got to come to grips with the fact that you're going to give up some serious talent.
Yeah. I saw a trade. I think this one actually was a pretty good one for the Yankees. It would be Jason Dominguez, Oswald Peraza, Spencer Jones, and Gleyber Torres for Ohtani. And I think that's one that actually makes a lot of sense. It allows you to keep Austin Wells there. Mm-hmm. And, you're also keeping a lot of your bats, and it still kind of puts you in position where if you wanted to go acquire a Soto, granted, you're going to be spending a lot of money to do so, but I don't think it's out of the question because if the Yankees do go after a Shohei, nothing's guaranteed that he's going to be there next year.
I can't see a scenario.
Got to set it up.
I can't see a scenario where, first of all, the Yankees are going to need some kind of something to know that Ohtani's going to stay, because that could be the holdup on the trade in itself. Because I feel that the Yankees are not going to part with some of these premier farmhands. But then again, I can't see Ohtani getting traded to the Yankees, playing on a team with Aaron Judge, and not wanting to stay. I legitimately do not see a scenario where if those two are together that they're not going to want to keep that going. I just don't see it.
You know why? I'll tell you. He would much rather be in a scenario where he's playing with 5 all-stars on the same field or pitching with them, as well as no state tax in the state of Texas. Just saying, you know.
Well,
and, your closer's going to be Jacob deGrom. Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you this right now. In order for the Yankees to acquire Shohei, it ain't gonna be no Gleyber Torreses and no bullshit. They're gonna have to literally throw the real farm if they want to get him. And if that's gonna happen, the only scenario where it's gonna happen is I think that it's gonna be part of it where the Yankees are gonna be like, "What's the price, dude? Let's do it now." Because we're not trading this shit for you to go walk out in 3 months. That's my opinion. We'll see how it plays. And while we're on the topic of Shohei, being that he's more than likely going to be the American League MVP, interesting little thing here. In the event that he did get traded to the National League, I still think he's done enough in the American League to win the American League MVP while he's playing for a National League team, which is pretty crazy. I don't believe in the history of baseball that's ever occurred. But Aaron Judge, the reigning AL MVP, and he will be dethroned because he doesn't have the numbers this year. He missed too many games. Praises Shohei in reference to the potential 62 getting taken down. And I'm just taking an excerpt of his quote. "Records are made to be broken." I like it. I think it's cool. When Pete Alonso crushed Aaron Judge's rookie record for home runs, you know, he praised him. He said it's good for the sport. He's kind of got the same tune here with Ohtani, just 1 year removed from breaking the all-time American League home run single-season record, as well as the New York Yankee record, because the previous holders of that record were New York Yankees. Oddly enough, if Shohei gets traded to the Yankees, you keep it in the family, should he break it. That alone, knowing the kind of narcissist that Hal Steinbrenner is, he might actually want to trade just for that reason alone. But being serious, I like it because I feel that it forces Judge to kind of get the competitive nature to be like, oh, shit, you hit 63 or 64? I have to hit 65 next year. And can you imagine these two in the same lineup? It'd be like the Eminem boys.
Yeah, it'd be those two together, and then you also got to worry about Garrett Cole and Shohei.
That'd be pretty sick too.
That's the reason why, though, right there. Garrett Cole
is the difference
and
between
Aaron Judge.
Listen, I'm not agreeing with everything George did, but I know damn well that if George was alive and in his heyday, there is absolutely no way that the Yankees aren't winning the sweepstake. He will do anything to get a player like that if he was alive. There's a lot of things he did that I didn't go for, and I'm not going to praise him for the entire Yankee dynasty because that's Watson, that's Showalter, that's Cashman. As an understudy of Watson, that's Gene Stick Michael as well.
Right.
And yes, it is George too, because George is writing the checks. I get it. But just a different time with the Yankees where I don't feel that they have that maniacal drive to just be better than everyone else. I feel that Hal doesn't have that same fire in his belly that his late brother Hank did. I think Hank was a lot more like George.
Yeah, I agree. That's why Hal is another one. I mean, you can't fire him, but I would do the clean sweep. Hal, Cashman, Boone. I stuck with Boone and Cashman up until this season, because I was like, Boone is getting us 100 wins a season. You know, we got shitted on 2 times by Houston and Boston, but I said, but he took them teams as far as he could, made a few hiccups here there. But this year, I mean, George wouldn't hold on to a manager this long
No, God,
And
no. You know how many
and not
times he fired Billy Martin?
right. And you got to get us to a world. That's the Yankee standard. 5 years, you got to get us to a World Series, at least in the game, into the big game. And we haven't been close. And I say haven't been close because we got swept.
Yes.
I mean,
my biggest indictment of Boone, and I'm going to make it short and sweet. Yeah. The man he replaced was Joe Girardi, right?
Yeah.
What is the last game that Joe Girardi managed for the New York Yankees was Game 7 of the 2017 American League Championship Series, falling one game short to the Houston Astros with the baby Bombers. We didn't even have Stanton on the team yet.
Nope.
Now you fast forward to the year 2023, and Aaron Boone has not got us closer than where Joe Girardi, the man who was let go of after that. Girardi's departure, very similar to Buck Showalter. He didn't get canned over performance. It was more of a philosophy thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. But from one iconic franchise to another, I know that we talk about Yankee standard, and they also have a big standard out in Big D. I do want to get Zappy's feedback on this. Zach Martin to potentially hold out, dropping a couple of question marks on that. Zappy, resident Cowboys fan, what are your thoughts? Is this going to be a quick fix, or can this potentially be gloomy?
It's absolutely going to be a quick fix. And the reason why is we're talking about Zach Martin, who is considered by most coaches, executives across the league, players of the past, current, to be the best right guard in football. His contract right now does not say that, though. He has no guaranteed money left. You know, he is the heart and soul of that offense. Now with Ezekiel Elliott gone, he is the heartbeat of that offensive line. If you take him out of that offense, it's a completely different season for Dallas. Zach Martin will be extended. I say 2 to 3 years. They will ensure that he gets the proper salary to put him right back up there with the top 3 guards in football, and to ensure that he is suiting up and ready to go by the start of training camp for veterans next week for Dallas. I'm not worried about this one bit.
I do agree. I can't see a scenario where Dallas would allow that to happen, given that they finally replaced Amari Cooper and the former Brandon Cooks, being that Micah Parsons is only going to continue to get better. And I'll keep it a buck, dude. I've been watching football a very long time. Micah Parsons is the closest player in terms of a ceiling that I've seen to my favorite of all time, Mr. Lawrence Taylor. Idris, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think this is as simple as Zappy says, or do you think there could be a little bit of a headache coming?
I think it's as simple as he says. However, we're dealing with Jerry Jones.
Yeah, and Jerry Jones knows he keeps his players he loves.
Yeah, but you know how he'll test your patience to where he makes you feel like, okay.
Go figure. He's a lot like Brett, and Brett can't stand him.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, but
I think he'll get done.
When it's been players of Zach Martin's level, his stature, everything about him.
Yeah, I think he'll get it done.
Never heard him complain about his contract. Yeah, you know, he's like a Jason Witten of the team. If Jason Witten, when he did that, we paid him right away. He's going to get paid right away. He's going to get it done. Off the field or anything like that. But if it was a Zeke, which we saw,
I don't think I don't think he'll be off the field. But I think Jerry will do what Jerry does, you know, for the media. But he'll get him on the field when it's time. He'll be on the field when he'll have him on the field ready. I put it that way. Jerry just he'll play the media thing because, you know, he loves publicity, you know, but they'll get it done fast.
They got to. I just it would go against everything that they've been working on this offseason.
And I think Zach Martin knows Jerry too. Jerry likes to,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
He's a Notre Dame alum. He's a pretty educated guy too, you know.
That's what I'm saying.
and from one situation that I guess you could say has an easy fix to it, to another one that has been anything but easy. We're going to talk about the Saquon Barkley interview, our interpretation and thoughts. I will say this. I do believe that the media has a propensity for painting this as the most terrible situation ever. Zappy immediately pointed out to me when he first sent this to our group feed for our show that Saquon kind of played his hand in the interview, saying that he does want to be back and that he will be back, because I think anybody with any kind of real logic saw how horrific a holdout went for Le'Veon Bell. And given the fact that Saquon Barkley is looking at over $10 million, even if it is his final season with the New York Giants, it's still doing better than a lot of your other running back peers for this particular season. And, you know, I have a belief that if Saquon Barkley can prove to the New York Football Giants brass that he can literally stay healthy for 2 complete seasons back-to-back, I think there will be a reasonable reward at the end of that. And then all the talk that Barkley has done that said it's not all about the money. I do want to be a Giant for life. That can be held when that time comes. I don't think this is totally a scenario where the Giants are just trying to be like, you're a piece of cattle, we're moving on. I do think that the injury history, from a reasonable standpoint, take the emotions out, does kind of weigh on this. Because when you get a running back at the prime discount, which is the rookie contract, and that running back misses 20-something games, you can't necessarily say that you got your bang for your buck, and now he's up to get paid for real. There's a lot of variables, and obviously it's not so much that they franchised him. I think what makes this hurtful to Saquon is that you saw your teammates, Daniel Jones as well as Dexter Lawrence, who have been on the team, if not the same amount of time, lesser time than you, ultimately get what they got. And Saquon, who, you know, people forget, he was actually Eli Manning's teammate for a short while there. 2018, I was at his first game of his career against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I will say this, and I stress this. I said it on Beast of the NFC East, one of our favorite pages to hang on. Is simple. He has not had a better year than his rookie year, which was 2018. And his second best year of his career was last year. In between, there's a lot of question. That's why Saquon's not getting the bag just yet. Stay healthy 2 years. I think he will. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
I think his you go. You guys
No, go for it. Go ahead.
I think his comments. I feel what he's saying, but I think it's a thing where he's talking out loud, and maybe he shouldn't have said it that way.
I think he lost more leverage by doing the interview, personally.
Yeah, because the way he put it, like, I could stick y'all if I want to. Basically he said, I could screw y'all around if I felt like it. It was like more of a bravado thing.
I think he's hurt, bro. I'll keep it real. I think he's hurt. And I get it. I get it. The guy works hard.
I believe he is too, but I think there's just some things you shouldn't say. He could have put it, I guess he could articulate a different type of way, but the way he put it was like, it was like a Le'Veon Bell type of way.
Zap, I'm going to let you go in a moment, and I'm not going to cut you, Idris. I just want to piggyback Idris on this particularly.
That's all I had.
Sylvia Sneed, friend of the show. Her cousin plays with the Kansas City Chiefs. We know her on Beast of the East. Mm-hmm. She and I got in a very good, educated conversation about all this, and I appreciated the convo because it was a lot of Cowboys fans who are not emotionally invested, so they're giving reasonable feedback on this.
Yeah,
she feels that yes, indeed, they really need him, and I'm not saying that we're not a better team with him, but basically the way I pointed it out was the 2-year thing. Stay healthy for 2 consecutive years.
Yeah,
Daniel Jones's first action in his NFL career was 2019 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, his first start. Okay. He gets the W, comes from behind. Saquon hyperextended his knee in that game and missed multiple weeks. That was 2019. 2020, we all know what happened in Soldier Field. He tore his knee. 2021, running off the field in AT&T Stadium, he caught a high ankle sprain that limited him, and he was already kind of behind the 8 ball because of the knee injury to begin with. Even if he doesn't get hurt there, he wasn't having his typical Saquon kind of year. And there are other variables. The O-line was shit. I understand that too. But ultimately, what I'm getting at is up until last year, with the skeleton crew of receivers and Brian Dable, as well as Mike Kafka, putting a lot on him. I applaud Saquon for being a true professional and a captain. He busted his ass, but I will say this. I'm happy that we got more help now because Saquon ran out of juice at the end of the year. Zappy and I spoke about this the other morning, and it is reasonable.
He injured his shoulder, too.
Yes, indeed. Look at the numbers, and the numbers will clarify. The numbers will back up what I'm saying. And this is not a campaign smear against Saquon. I want him back, but I want him back at something reasonable. And I think the New York Giants are sticking to their laurels because saying no to a popular player that everyone loves shows a maturity that the previous regime didn't have. Because ultimately, if you didn't give Kenny Golladay all that fucking money, this would be very simple right now, and you could overpay him a little and not necessarily freak out about overpaying him a little. Zappy, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Right. Actually, that was the perfect transition point. If you didn't give Kenny Golladay and Leonard Williams his contract, those two players alone account for, I believe it's $41 million against the cap. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, you gave Daniel Jones 40, which is well below the new market value of a quarterback."
Correct, sir.
And
Correct, sir.
I'm like, you guys are blinded because it's really Leonard Williams and it's Kenny Golladay who are screwing this up, But anyways,
I'm going to transition this into keep talking, but I'm going to transition this into the plumbing running back market because that's where you're going.
Yeah, thank you, because this actually allows me to make my point even bigger. All right, so what Saquon, what he has been saying, and what Austin Eckler has been saying, who, by the way, had the opportunity to go seek a new team this offseason because he wanted more money, and he didn't, so he signed his contract.
They kind of upped it a little bit. I think it was
very little.
It wasn't massive.
But I'm looking at a lot of things here, and I'm looking at, all right, Saquon, you've missed a lot of time. Yes, that offense did well, but you forget who your head coach is right now, and this is the NFL. So while these players want to come up with the accusation that these owners are all colluding to ensure that running backs don't get paid anymore, maybe that's the case, maybe that's not, or maybe it's just the point that the running back market is falling, and while you do a lot, these are things that other players can also do. So if you guys want to come together and go on strike, or if you want to come together and say we're not going to play, that's fine. It's because it's only going to prove the point that the owners are trying to make, that you are replaceable. Now, when I look at the other contracts, I look at Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. Both those players average $15 million or more. Now, when I look at the rest of them, it's Derrick Henry at 12.5, Nick Chubb at 12.2, and then Aaron Jones at $12 million. The argument is, from here, do those three, whether it's Tony Pollard, well, I won't include Tony Pollard because he signed his tag, but does Saquon and Josh Jacobs deserve more than Kamara or Christian McCaffrey? I'm going to say no, because CMC and Kamara do a lot in the passing game.
I completely agree with you. And the reason why even a CMC or a Kamara are weapons like that is because, dude, look at their quarterbacks. Even Drew Brees a couple of years ago, he really declined as the Hall of Famer that we knew. The 49ers had a carousel at quarterback over the last couple of years, whether it's Trey Lance getting hurt immediately, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy. Yes, and now they got Sam Darnold in the mix, and nobody knows for sure which way this is going to play, and we're going to all find out. But the point I'm making is guys like McCaffrey, guys like Kamara, to your point, Zappy, are natural pass-catching backs that are legitimate dual threats. Saquon is phenomenal in space, but he does not have the hands of those two ball players, nor does he have the hands of an Aaron Jones.
And that's why I am happy that Tony Pollard was an adult and mature about this, because he knows the job is not done. Well, he had a season last year for Dallas, a breakout season. A lot of Dallas fans, a lot of Dallas media, whatever the case, has known this about Tony Pollard since him being drafted out of Memphis. And the one thing I would say is, if he shows up a complete season again this year, he's going to get paid, and he might get paid a little more than what Saquon or Josh Jacobs get, because Tony Pollard is an excellent pass-catching running back.
Another caveat to that, when you see Zeke leave under the circumstances of being overpaid and, He was a great Cowboy. He might be a Cowboy again. We don't know for sure. Sorry to interrupt you, but I guess what I'm trying to say, Zap, to your point about Pollard being an adult, he knows that you got to strike the iron when the iron's hot, because right now he's in a prime position, because with the short lifespan of running backs, it changes very quickly. Look what happened in Kansas City.
It does, and I think it's also because we're seeing it with all these teams. I mean, let's look at this, gentlemen. Since the turn of the millennium, 1999, the St. Louis Rams won the Super Bowl with Marshall Faulk. So we're not going to talk about, but since Marshall Faulk, there has been only 2 running backs that were very instrumental in their team winning the Super Bowl. That was Marshawn Lynch with the Seahawks, and that was Corey Dillon with the New England Patriots. Other than that, we have seen that the running back by committee works as long as you have an excellent passing game and a great defense. Running the ball is important to get to the playoffs. It is. Let's be real. It's a very important thing. You need to have a running back or multiple running backs that can handle the load. But, I can't justify paying more than Derrick Henry's 12.5.
No.
The Giants were willing to give him 13. They were willing to give him 13, which I think Derrick Henry is the basis that these running backs need to be looking at, and not CMC.
Because he is the
Kamara.
prototypical traditional. He's kind of like the new age ability of, if you put Earl Campbell, Brandon Jacobs together and both their ceilings put together, hyped up, that is Derrick Henry. Go ahead, Idris.
And see, we won our 2 Super Bowls, 2007, 2011, running back by committee.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It could be done
every
year.
And
we didn't win with Tiki.
No, we didn't.
We got close. We got close,
but we didn't win with Tiki.
But yes, to your point, Rodney Hampton, Otis Anderson, Dave Meggett, Ahmad Bradshaw, Reuben Jones was part of that for a little while.
Yeah,
Jacobs.
Derek
Ward.
I can't. Ward. Yeah, Ward. Yeah.
Ward.
Yeah.
But it's been proven over time.
Yeah.
You got to go back to Joe Morris as that dude back then.
That was all that. Yeah.
There was a running back that just won the Super Bowl that was a 7th round draft pick. His name is Isaiah Pacheco.
And he played out a first-round draft pick in Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Yeah, there's. I just look. I don't think the position is falling because we need the position, but we're seeing that this is the most replaceable position in the NFL. That's what we're seeing.
It's one of the lowest paid too.
And it's not the lowest paid.
No, it's one. No, it's not the lowest. No.
Okay, yeah, because
but there are scenarios where kickers make more, and this is my answer to that.
Oh,
you carry 3 to 4 running backs. You only carry 1 kicker. In some rare cases, 2 kickers. Shout out Brett Maher. But the point I'm making is the running back by committee has also devalued that. Let's take our specific head coach for instance. In Buffalo, he didn't have the superstar running back, but he also had a running quarterback, similar to your cousin's team, Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Our New York Giants, Brian Dable moves along. Daniel Jones, Josh Allen track the careers, very similar scenarios with both of them. And, they talk about all this stuff with Saquon, and I get it. He did a lot for the team. But, dude, Daniel Jones only trailed Saquon by 3 rushing touchdowns last year.
Right.
So why they get on all that, he only threw 15. I'm like, I get that. But maybe we should be saying Saquon only rushed for 10. Chris Jones, he had 7. There's 2 ways to look at that narrative.
Jones had a lot of clutch runs, too.
He had a lot of clutch runs, but then when I think if Jones had receivers like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, or if he had receivers like CeeDee Lamb and Brandon,
dude, I would be thrilled with B level.
Well, exactly. We're talking about him throwing to one of the guys as to why you guys can't get Saquon signed because of all the money you guys gave Kenny Golladay, and a bunch of guys that were bagging groceries, and now you have Jalen Hyatt into the lineup. So I mean, if you. Obviously, you guys are still growing. You give him some better receivers, he's going to put up better numbers. Your quarterback is only as good as the receivers you surround them with, or the line, everything. We've seen it time and time again. There's only one Patrick Mahomes. There's only one Tom Brady. Everyone else needs everything to be perfect, and even Brady needed things to be perfect.
I'll make an exception for an Aaron Rodgers too, because I do feel that Aaron Rodgers is one of those rarities, or a Dan Marino taking it way back. that make everybody around them better. This is something that leading by example doesn't make anything better. I got to hit on this. So we got quarterbacks versus rappers. Future dissing Russell Wilson shows a real immaturity and weakness within him. This is my whole thing here. Sierra, who is the baby mother of Future's son. By the way, he has 8 children.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson has been raising his little man more than just playing the stepdad card. I mean, truly being that man, being his true father.
That kid loves him.
Absolutely, as he should. And when I think about what Russell Wilson does for impoverished communities, when I think about the kind of money that Russell Wilson has raised over the years for some very important causes, for causes that are beneficial to society, and to think that a 40-year-old pissed off half-ass father, who's probably a half-ass father to his 7 other kids, and not for nothing, you ain't all that great of a rapper either there, Mr. Future.
No, not at all.
Ain't that good. Russell
Wilson watched someone die.
Who?
Russell Wilson is coming off the worst season of his professional career, Future. Hey, he's still ahead of you, coming off the worst season of his career. Grow the fuck up, grow some stones, be a man, and thank that man for loving your child the way that you should.
You know something? Him and Sierra have been together, 3-4 years, maybe a little bit longer. They've been together for a little while. It's time to get over it, man. You had your chance with her and you blew it.
Mm-hmm.
She met a guy, low key, nerdish, but he wants to talk about how he earned his stuff on the streets. So, big deal. What is it getting you? You're a rapper. Okay, so be it. Be happy. You're not that good in my opinion. Some Atlanta guys might like you, but I think you're whack. I wouldn't even put you in the top 100.
Yeah, when I think of Atlanta rappers, he's not at the top of my list. Hell no.
But I'm like, here you are, a grown-ass man.
40 years old, my man. 40 years old.
And you doing shit that 20-year-olds do.
Yes.
You still mad at this man.
Should be kissing his ass for taking care of his child. I'm like, Russell Wilson, bro. We can make jokes on the football end that he had a shit year.
Yeah.
But there is no way in hell that I'm going to poke any shot at him about the way that he lives his life, because the dude is a legitimate role model.
I remember Sierra before she got with Russell Wilson. I wasn't a fan of her. I mean, she was all right.
Yeah.
But since with Russ,
did you just say she's all right?
She's all right. No, I mean, she looked good. I'm talking career-wise. I mean,
okay.
She's all right. I wasn't no big fan of her.
We're going to find out that Zappy has a poster in the house.
Probably, so you
want to see it?
Probably not. It's all right. I mean, I wasn't really much into her. Her music was all right to me.
Yeah, but, okay. I agree with you on
her
that one.
and Russ, it's like she leveled up personally.
Indeed.
Personally. And this guy is still on some... You had your chance.
It just speaks, like I said, to the weakness. On so many layers and levels. Like, okay, so when Kanye was going berserk with the whole Pete Davidson shit, I could understand. I could be like in between, because I love Pete Davidson. Don't get me wrong. I love Kanye too. I love both those guys. So I was disappointed to see those two banging heads, because I actually have an admiration for both.
Well, Pete was like, he was trolling. I like.
Well, yeah, I mean, Kanye kind of made it easy at that point. But the point I made, and nobody deals with the Kardashians and comes out better on the other side.
No, they don't.
But the point I'm making with that is, I actually can feed into the narrative a little more of why Kanye would be mad.
Yeah.
Because Kanye was a lot of things, but I never necessarily viewed him as an absentee father, where in Future's case, the word on the street is pretty accurate. They just buy like 1 woman, 2 women, 3 women, 4 women. I mean, you could basically have if we're talking about another sport, basketball, you basically have a rotation.
Yeah, it's 8 for 8.
Yes, and in steady rotation. Over the course of the last 3-4 years, this is phenomenal. Actually, like over the last 3 years, really.
Yeah.
Nas has been on fire, rewriting the script, rewriting the narrative that once foe turned friend Jay-Z called him out on about being lazy, basically.
Yeah.
About we know the beef when and we're going to be speaking on this on a future show. No pun intended when I said future.
Yeah.
we're talking about real rappers here, pal.
Yeah.
Guys that are in their 40s and beyond that are still relevant. That's what we're talking about. Well, still, then again, you would have had to be relevant first. Okay, so Nas, Magic 2, he's already dropped 3 King's Diseases. Nas, ever since hooking up with Hit Boy, this is like he's like taking his victory laps. Shout out Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace. Yeah. He's basically taken all these laps to solidify that not only is he a legend, but he is actually, in my opinion, doing the kind of necessary work to truly be considered as the GOAT of all GOATs. I really think that it's starting to get into that territory with Nas.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Keep in mind, this guy's been doing it. I think his first joint came out in 90. He was on Main Source's Breaking Atoms live at the barbecue. He's like 16 years old, and here it is, 2023, and he hadn't lost a step.
Bro, it's phenomenal because every artist, if you're in it long enough, takes a step back. Yeah. And we saw it with Nas for a little bit there where he lost motivation. And, he had some issues with Khalees.
Yeah.
I mean, the shit with Jay-Z, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Before Ether dropped, I really thought Nas was finished. Similar to how 50 hammered Ja Rule down for good. I really thought that was going to happen to Nas, and I'll never forget the feeling I had leaving Green Acres Mall, listening to the Stillmatic album and the intro. I was so fired up because I think that may very well be the greatest intro in hip-hop history. And that basically led into Ether sampling Tupac's Fuck Jay-Z. I was just in awe of, number one, that these guys did right by rap by keeping it on wax and not taking it to the violent level. Talking about Jay-Z and Nas. I think seeing them both on stage, squashing the beef, doing a joint together on Hip Hop Is Dead, I think that was great for all of it. A win for the culture on so many levels.
Yeah.
But I think to wrap it up with Nas, what I'm really getting at is when I think about the GOATs of all GOATs, I talk about the golden era truly and thoroughly, especially coming from where we come from, guys like Rakim, who you got to see live, which is pretty awesome.
It's crazy.
Guys like KRS-One. I think that with all the activity that Nas has, he's putting himself in a position, not just mainstream, but for the realest of hip hop heads, that he is jumping pretty much every legend right now. And I don't think it's about one-upping anybody. I think it's about just sewing up his career. I mean, dude, even the Lost tapes. He dropped the second Lost tapes.
Yeah.
And that kind of got overlooked. Because it's different now the way music, I know in the old days, the first thing you do, you rip the plastic off and you want to read everything. It's a little different now. That's one thing I do legitimately miss. But shout out Nas.
I think with Nas, it's, man, I mean, his longevity, I mean,
dude, I mean,
it's crazy
to think that he went head to head with Tupac.
Yeah,
in terms of something that really could have got bad. I said, he survived the beef with Jay-Z. Pretty much. And,
Tupac, people like Snoop said. The thing with Tupac, people say that Tupac punked him. Like Snoop said, no. Nas was basically saying, I could take you out right now. And that be that.
Yeah. Well, Snoop confirmed it.
Yeah.
And this is at the height when Death Row East was coming about.
Yeah.
And that was very scary for the New York hip hop scene because
it was.
The one thing I want to say, and the greatest thing that Nas was a part of, unfortunately, it didn't see all itself to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Eric B as well. They legitimately were trying to squash the East-West beef, and I think it's a shame because it would have been phenomenal to see Tupac and Nas work together. And I'm also going to take it a step further and say I do believe that if it wasn't for a lot of the powers that be, so to speak, I'm talking about Puffy, I'm talking about Suge, I'm talking about a lot of outside entities.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that Chris Wallace and Mr. Shakur as well would have probably got past whatever they were going through, and they probably would have made some music as well.
Yeah, I agree.
But unfortunately, it just wasn't meant to be. But that's what I applaud Jigga and Nas for, is that they learned from the previous mistakes, that even though the shit was hot, and there was some real bad feelings there, they did keep it on wax, and it was a win for the culture on a lot of levels.
Yeah, I agree.
Hip Hop Show coming soon, guys. We're going to talk about the best diss tracks of all time. Back to the running backs. These are my top 10 currently going into the fantasy season. At 1, I got Christian McCaffrey. 2, Austin Eckler. 3, Josh Jacobs. 4, Mr. Saquon Barkley. 5, I've got Derrick Henry. 6, Jonathan Taylor. 7, Nick Chubb. 8, Tony Pollard. 9, hasn't taken an NFL snap yet, but we think highly of him, Bijan Robinson. And at 10, Brett's guy, Ramondre Stevenson. Gentlemen, in your opinion, did I get this right? Is somebody ranked too low, or did I just flat out miss somebody?
I'm flipping Nick Chubb over Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
I'm putting Nick. I'm actually putting Nick Chubb.
I might,
probably to number 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. 3 or 4.
That would be the only big change. I would probably put Bijan ahead of let's see, Derrick Henry. I think he's on his down, but and Bijan has taken a snap. But I would still put Bijan ahead of him because Bijan is a Swiss Army knife.
He's going to be special.
So I would be willing to put Bijan up to probably top 5.
I'm taking Bijan off only because he hadn't taken a snap. I'm not going to go by what
no problem with that
could do. I'm putting Najee in there in the 10, but I'm putting him like 9. And I said nothing against Bijan because I know what he can do and he's going to probably do it, but it's just he hasn't done it yet. And I've seen so many people come into the league like Curtis Ennis. They're coming to he's going to be this. When he came into the league, he was a bust. So a lot of them.
Tim Biakabatuka, another guy.
Tim Biakabatuka, another
Kijana Carter.
Carter couldn't even stay healthy.
Ron Dane, how about that? Tyrone
Wheatley.
Trent Richardson.
Lawrence Phillips.
A
lot of guys.
Yeah, there's a lot of it, and that's why it's hard. I would say if there's 3 running backs,
but I'm taking 10 rookies, off too now. I'm gonna tell you what I'm putting number 10. Oh, never mind. I'm thinking about the next list. Never mind.
Oh yeah, don't worry. We get them.
No, yeah, I was gonna say there's 3 running backs that I think that would be in the top 10, but they're their own enemy because of injury. That's Kenneth Walker, that's Breece Hall, and Travis Etienne. I think those 3 could easily be in the top 10 this year if they stay healthy.
Yeah,
I agree completely with that side of the take. Is there anybody else that I might potentially be missing? I'll say this.
I would say Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, Gibbs.
Yeah, that's reasonable. By the way, I did make a mistake on this list now that I look at it. I somehow left out Alvin Kamara. But then again,
even then, he's not top 10 for me.
Nah, he's.
Nor is there. It's a tricky one because I think that his top 10 status ranges from season to season.
And yeah, he's. I think he kind of declined a little bit, man.
Last year's tough, and once again, I'm basing this on fantasy, so take into consideration.
Oh yeah, okay.
This man's looking at a suspension. We don't necessarily know how long. Personally, I think it's gonna be 2 games. I don't think it's gonna be too bad. And now Jamal Williams sharing that backfield with him. They're trying to recreate what he had a decade earlier with Mark Ingram.
And don't forget about who they drafted, Kendre Miller, who was a running back that I actually wanted Dallas to draft as well. We ended up with Deuce Vaughn, obviously. But this kid out of TCU, he will be their starting running back by season's end. I would take that to the bank. Yeah.
So you got Jamal Williams plummeting on the depth chart?
No, I think Jamal Williams is what Jamal Williams is. He is going to be your short to goal line guy.
I can see him vulturing a lot of touchdowns, similar to what LeGarrette Blount did when he was a member of the New England Patriots.
K-State, right?
Yeah, he's out of K-State. And right now, he's our number 4.
When I used to see him at K-State, I was like, because of the uniform, I said he like Emmitt Smith. Just because he was because of the uniform and how short he was.
I can see that. That's a good shout, actually.
Deuce Vaughn was one of my favorite college players through this era of college football. You know, he was an exciting player, but people look past him because he's 5'6". Yeah. You know, but Kendre Miller is another one. There's one of those running backs coming out this year that I was excited about, and maybe it's because I got to see him since he did go to TCU. He is a Texas product, but I firmly believe that he is the future of that Saints backfield. Kamara, you know, he will be implemented within their passing game, but his contract is about to end. Mm-hmm. And Jamal Williams he's a good, solid running back that, you know, he's going to get you those dirty yards and things like that. So it's nothing taken away from him.
I gotta say, dude, his highlight of the season last year, and he had a pretty good year, but he showed his ass against our New York Giants. That was a tough Sunday. I'm going to hit you with my all-time running backs all time now. Here we go. At number 1, the late, great Jim Brown. Number 2, the late, great Walter Payton. Number 3, Barry Sanders. I might get some ire for that he's not higher. I'll explain myself. Eric Dickerson at 4. The great Emmitt Smith at 5. Number 6, Adrian Peterson. At 7, I got Tony Dorsett. 8, Earl Campbell. 9, LaDainian Tomlinson. And at 10, Curtis Martin.
Well,
Marshall Faulk just misses this list.
I'm flipping Dickerson and Smith. I can see why Jim Brown is number 1. Based on what he did in so short of seasons, 12 game seasons in 9 seasons.
Yeah, he was remarkable.
God, I mean, that's those numbers you compare him today, crazy.
Not to mention he retired early.
He only played 9 seasons. I mean, to be honest with you, I love Earl Campbell. I'm taking to number 11, and I'm moving everyone up. And my number 10 is Marion Motley. Okay,
taking it back. I don't have an issue with that. If I was going to take anyone out, it's tough to say. But it actually would be Earl. And I would move everybody a step in, and I would have Marshall Faulk as my number 10. But I just think Earl Campbell just did too much from his brand of running the football that makes him here. Oddly enough, I did leave out O.J. Simpson, and I'm going to tell you why.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you why.
Because he killed Nicole?
Nah, not even.
No, he's innocent. He's innocent.
Nah, he did that shit.
The glove didn't fit.
He did that shit.
No. The God's honest truth. The reason I left O.J. The reason I left O.J. off this list is because although he did have the 2K seasons, I also think that to a level he's a little overrated when you look at some of those other years. And then it ended not so ceremoniously in San Francisco. But O.J. would definitely be in my top 13. Let me make that clear. And he's still a legend in his own right. Some people might be like, dude, where the fuck is O.J.? What are you doing? And I'll take the criticism as it stands. Is O.J. top 10, fellas? Did I miss this?
Okay. I'm taking a few of these guys out, believe it or not. I'm surprised you don't have Bo Jackson in your top 10.
Bo Jackson didn't play long enough, my man. He had limited duty behind Marcus.
He was still one of the greatest.
Yeah, but it's more predicated off of what could have been, not what was.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, we can say the same thing about Bo Jackson's baseball career.
Terrell Davis could be the same one, but he didn't have.
Still got in the hall though. But they say that the postseason doesn't matter. They can go to hell with that. Where's Sterling Sharp?
It mattered.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
And so I'm only naming running backs that I could present an argument for. But Bo Jackson's one of them. Gale Sayers is another one that you can make. But you're talking about more longevity, so I see why you don't have either one of those.
I tried to be fair. There's a couple of guys. What I saw LaDainian do in 06, dude, he had to make this list. Shout out Shane Olivier, Lawrence, Golden Tornadoes, Ohio State Buckeyes. Rest in peace, Shane.
Where do you have Marcus Allen?
Behind everybody on my list.
I put him in the top 15.
Yeah, Marcus
Really?
ain't
Okay.
Marcus ain't cutting it for my 10. Fellas, I just want to let you know we're going to be coming up on the 4-minute mark in a few seconds. I do want to hit on my start bench cut just in case it doesn't tie. I want to keep enough time for a second round. Start bench cut.
Put in his Marshall Falk.
We're going to base this. Yeah, okay, you with me on that one. We're going to base this on the franchise tag recipients. One signed, the other two did not. Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. Start bench cut. Mr. Idris Lam, you are on the clock. That was a hell of a timing for that click. Tony Pollard, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs. Start bench cut.
Starting Josh Jacobs, benching Saquon, dropping Tony. I'm gonna tell you why. Josh Jacobs done what he had to do. I think he's getting shitted on. Saquon, same thing. I'm benching Pollard because he had a good year. However, I need to see his whole body of work.
Okay.
You're benching Pollard or cutting Pollard?
Cutting.
Okay.
Cutting. Because I need to see him in a full season as a feature back. These two guys are featured backs. Pollard relieves Zeke. Did great. But I need to see him 16. I need to see him 17 games.
Let me ask you a quick question, Idris.
Yeah.
Just want to make my understanding. Why do you put Jacobs over Barkley or vice versa?
Injury history for one thing.
Okay.
Jacobs been on the field more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so you got Jacobs as your starter, Barkley as your bench, and Pollard as your cut. Mr. Zappi, you're up.
All right. So this is a scenario based. Either way, I'm either going to start Josh Jacobs or Tony Pollard, and it comes down to if we're talking about what the system is. I would start Tony Pollard if it is a system that is more of like a West Coast or where the running back gets utilized more in the passing game. But if it's a system where the running back is the featured, then like a Titans, for example, then I'm going to take Josh Jacobs, which means I'm going to bench the other players. So if it's a running by committee type offense where we're focused more on passing, I'm going to start Tony Pollard. I'm going to bench Josh Jacobs because, quite frankly, Josh Jacobs has done it on a consistent basis. He has rushed for 1,000 yards 3 times in his career, and this past year, he led the league in rushing. Where Saquon, as we've talked about, he has missed 20 games he's missed in his career.
22, I believe.
22 games, whatever the case may be. And also the comment he made, it didn't sit well that he can simply just sit out.
Cut. I'm giving you a tie because I want to hear more. Start bench cut round 2. We're going to go for the legends here. Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, Jim Brown, Zappy, you're on the clock, and you got about 45 seconds.
Jesus.
Yeah. Make it happen.
I'm going to start Barry because obviously I'm the Cowboy fan, and that means he's starting behind my Dallas offensive line of the 90s. I'm going to cut Walter Payton, and then I'm going to bench Jim Brown.
Starting Walter because he did everything. He could do everything, block, run the ball, catch the ball, punt the ball. I'm running Barry Sanders because he showed he can catch the ball out the backfield, run the ball, everything else. I'm cutting Jim Brown because he was not a blocker. And he said, I don't block. I run the ball.
That's a good fucking take.
He said it. I don't block.
That's a good take. Both you guys had super good takes, especially with a limited time to speak on it. Zappy, I have one big disagreement with you. While I totally agree that the Dallas Cowboys, 92 particularly, but that era of dynasty was just all kinds of phenomenal, different level of offensive line. Barry Sanders, to me, never really played his brand of football by running through the holes. I always think he had the home run in mind, and that's the reason why even on my GOAT list, I put Peyton and Brown above him. Having said that, I'm giving Idris the slight edge here. But having said that, both of you guys made excellent points. Please like and subscribe to the channel, the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast on YouTube. And we are going to be back soon with our divisional previews for Mr. Zappy, for Mr.
Denzel Mims just got traded to the Lions for a 25 draft pick.
That's news.